Hey 7th graders, today's lesson is 1.2 and 1.3 natural selection. You guys should have just done the 1.1 pre-assessment for this new unit. Your learning targets for today: I can describe a population, and I can create a histogram showing different variation and distributions of traits in a population. So really we're going to focus on a population and the fact that not every individual in that population is the same, even though they're the same species. All right, so first and foremost, we have a lot to add to our notebook today, as well as establish our notebook for this unit. So first of all, open OneNote, add a new section and title that Natural Selection, and then under that new section, add 2 new pages, vocab, and key concepts. So if I'm pulling it up right here, you guys can see my new section is Natural Selection right here at the bottom. Okay, and then I created another new page and I titled the 2 pages vocab and key concepts. So you guys can see the vocab I added for today. Population, a group of the same type of organism living in the same area, and generally a population is described as individuals that can basically produce offspring. Okay, trait, a specific characteristic of an individual organism. So we talked about this a lot when we talked about genetics. So for instance, eye color would be a trait. Okay, generation, a group of individuals born and living about the same time. Variation, any difference in traits between individual organisms. So if we're looking at like eye color as our trait, we have different variations such as blue eyes, brown eyes, green eyes, hazel, you name it, all the different variations. Okay. And then finally, distribution is the number of individuals with each trait in a population. So if I were to look at all the kids in my classroom and count how many had brown eyes versus blue eyes versus green eyes, okay, that would be my distribution. And then later in this assignment, we'll talk a little bit about histograms and how we can basically graph that information. Okay, unit question for this unit: why do populations change over time? So obviously in our first chapter, we're just going to look at traits in a population, and then we're going to look at how they change over a long period of time. Okay, your key concept for today: a population can be described by the traits present and by the number of individuals who have each trait. All right, so moving on past our notebook, once you guys have those in, you guys can move on to your warm-up. So below is an image of a rainforest in Ecuador. The frogs, also pictured below, live there and are all the same species. So even though these all look different, please ignore the fire alarm, and the building is not on fire. So although they look different, they are actually the same type of species. They're a type of dart frog. So observe the frogs closely and describe them below. If you need, you guys can click the picture and expand it to make it just a little bit larger. Okay, then what you guys will do is answer the question on the next slide for your warm-up. There we go, waiting for that to stop. All right, so it says, describe the group of frogs in the image. So you guys should really have more than one little quick sentence here. You guys see a lot of different characteristics, so maybe talk about those: body colors, spots, size of the frog, those kinds of things. So check out some of those different characteristics that we see. Again, these are all the same species, we just have a lot of variations, so really dig into those variations. All right, activity 3, you guys are going to watch The Mystery of the Poisonous Newts. So go ahead, right click this link right here for you, and you guys are going to open up this video right here. Okay, and it talks about our phenomenon that we're going to be focusing on just a little bit, not a lot, during this unit. Okay, so watch that video. And then let's move on to this next activity called Observing Populations. So what you guys see in this image is a picture of what we call a dog-faced butterfly. And what I did for you guys was show you guys how to describe this thing. So what I see, or this butterfly, so what I see is obviously it has 4 wings. Okay, and it looks like 2 of those wings are just solid yellow, some little splotches of black. Really all 3 of these are solid yellow, but you guys kind of have this almost distinguished spot right here. And then this 4th wing has that same spot as this wing, but it's mainly brownish black, a little bit of orangish brown, and then a little bit of yellow in here. So what I wrote for this, how would I describe this butterfly? This butterfly has 4 wings, 3 of which are yellow. One of those 3 has a blackish brown spot. The 4th wing is a combination of blackish brown, orangish brown, and yellow. Okay? So really focused in on the main differences there, which were the colors of the wings. So what you guys will do is you guys have 4 images of butterflies here. And you guys will choose one of the 4 butterflies to describe on the next slide. So on the next slide, you're going to tell me which butterfly you chose, A, B, C, or D. And you guys are going to give a description that's somewhat similar to one I gave you guys about butterfly 1 up here. Okay? Then finally, if we were to look at this, these 20 species here, you guys got a small snippet of them. We're all different species of, again, dog-faced butterflies. So think about it. What are some different variations you could see for wing color in this population of dog-faced butterflies? So nothing for you guys to respond here. I just want you guys to kind of take a look at them and look at some of their differences in variation for wing color. Okay, once you guys do that, go ahead and move on to the next part of activity 4. Okay, observing populations again. You guys can see this herd of wild horses. So answer this question using your draw tool. Based on today's lesson, how would you describe the traits of this population? So you guys will use the draw tool to circle one of these. You're either going to circle all of the horses have the same traits because they are the same population. This population has different traits for color. Some are brown, some are black, some are gray, and some are white. So if you agree with that, circle that. None of the horses in this population have similar traits because they are all individuals. If you agree with that, circle that. Again, you guys are just circling one answer here. The horses in this population are all the same because they have a coat, a mane, and a tail, aka they're all horses. And then finally, these horses must not be a population because they have different traits. So circle the one answer you guys think best fits that population of horses. All right, moving on to activity 5. You guys have a little reading assignment here, so you guys will right-click and open up and read this article, The Rough-Skinned Newt. So there's your link. Go ahead and open it. Looks a little bit something like this. You guys are going to learn about this poisonous rough-skinned newts. It's not a very long article, about 3 paragraphs and a couple captions. So read through that, and then you have 3 questions to answer with this. The first one you guys will use your draw tool for. Think about what you have learned so far about populations in general and the rough-skinned newt population that you read about in the park. What prediction would you make about the poison level traits in this population? So do you think that all of those have the same amount of poison? Do you think that this population has different poison level traits? Some have low, some have medium, and some have high? Or do you think none of the newts in the population have the same poison level trait because they are all individuals? So circle the answer you guys think is most correct. Again, just one there. And then answer these 2 questions. What are some of the traits present in the newt population described in the article? And how might these traits change from individual to individual? Hint, do you think the newts are all the exact same color or size? Okay? All right, and then moving on to the simulation. You guys can first just take a couple minutes to explore the simulation, but I'm going to show you guys the first couple missions that you guys are doing. So this is the natural selection sim link. You guys can go ahead and right-click that and open it up. And then once you guys get in there, it'll prompt you to ask, do you guys have an iPad? Are you guys working on an iPad for this? I've already selected no, and of course my sim is still loading. So hopefully that loads up quick. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna go ahead, there we go. So it looks a little bit something like this. So it'll take like 5 minutes to explore this a little bit, and then I'm gonna show you guys your sim missions for today. All right, so your goal is to set up and observe different populations in the sim. So there's 3 different populations that we'll look at. So you'll open it up, and then you guys are gonna go to the Explore Variation mode. So if I click on that, the Explore Variation mode is right up here in these 3 horizontal lines. You guys can click Explore Variation and load it up. Okay? Complete the missions below. And tips, it is not necessary to enter, run, or analyze to complete these missions, so you guys don't even have to run it to see what happens. And then turn off organisms that you are not investigating by pressing the Include Thorn Palms, Australopes, or Conothons toggles. And I'll show you guys those here in a second. All right, so your first mission is to set up a thorn palm population where all thorn palms have medium thorns. So basically what I'm going to show you guys is, first of all, you guys can zoom in on this if you haven't figured that out already. And then you guys can kind of scroll around. These little goofy looking trees are called thorn palms, and they have different sized thorns on them. So you guys can kind of manipulate that. So I'm going to go ahead, and right here I have my 3 different populations, my thorn palms, my australopes, and I can't remember what this last guy is. Okay, so then I can look at this and say, all right, there's 2 traits that we can study with these thorn palms. There's either height or there's thorn size. For this mission number 1, it tells us to change medium thorns. So we're looking at thorn size here. Okay, so what we can see is we want all thorn palms to have medium thorns. Okay, so this is just the variation as to how many different size thorns there are in a population. Okay, so what we want is just one size thorns that are about medium. So we can click and we can drag this, but we're gonna leave it right at none. Okay, so if we were to change it to low, notice that we have a couple, like 3 different sizes of thorns here. Okay, but our mission told us to keep it so all of them have medium sized thorns. Okay, so if we're really looking medium, either this one could fit the bill, or if we go to none, we know that all of ours had the exact same size. So again, if we go to low, yes, the medium's still kind of in this area here, and all of them have that medium sized thorn. So either of those would really work. So basically what you guys are doing on this is you're really just looking at how you guys can change these. Okay, then if we actually look, we can say next, turn off our australopes and our carnathons, or we can hit back and go through. So that's kind of how you guys turn off the different populations. But like I said, your first mission's just australopes, and you don't actually have to hit run to see anything happen. Okay, you guys have no responses you need to do. But what you guys do need to do to indicate that you did this is when you complete this mission, go check it off. It's really important that you guys know how to do these and understand this concept of variation. Again, variation is right here. And it means, like, you know, if you have no variation, that means every individual for this trait looks exactly the same. Okay, it would be like saying everyone has brown eyes. Okay, if you have low variation, then you guys have a couple things, maybe a couple different shades of brown eyes. Medium variation, maybe you have brown and some green eyes, and then high variation would mean you guys have all these different eye colors. Okay, so again, if we're talking about the trait of thorn size, we're looking at either no variation, all the trees have the same size thorns. Low variation, they all have close to the same size thorns. Middle variation, we have a little bit of all the different sizes of thorns. And then high variation, we have almost equal amounts of different variations, okay? So that's what the variations kind of means right there. Okay, so Sim 2 then, or Mission 2 says, set up a thorn palm population where the thorn palms have many different thorn sizes. Again, that would be something where you guys maybe have a maximum amount of variation. We can see thorn sizes ranging from 1 inch to 10 inches, and then we have a lot of individuals in each of those different categories in between. Okay, so then you guys could cross off Sim Mission 2. So I've already showed you guys how to do those, so they're already crossed off from you. So you guys will figure out how to complete Sim Mission 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, if you guys need help, please let me know. All right, moving on. You guys have a little video to watch. Basically what you guys were doing with this little variation table right down here is looking at a histogram. So we're going to learn a little bit about what a histogram is. So you guys will right click this video, open it up, and then you guys will watch this link right here called the histogram, or explaining the histogram. So you guys understand a little bit what a histogram is, and it's really pretty self-explanatory. We're going to spend the next couple minutes actually building our own histograms. Okay, so just to go over these really quick with you guys, you added some vocab, and I just wanted to kind of talk about that vocab. You learned a little bit about it in the histograms video. But these australopes, so these organisms right here are called australopes. They show variation in their body color trait. These individuals are members of the same generation, so they're existing and living at about the same time period. Okay, this histogram shows variations in the australope body color trait. The distribution shows where more individuals with the trait for blue body color than any other body color in this group. So if we look, these are kind of, looks like maybe tealish right here. We got some blue, some green in here, and then some yellow tones down here. These are all different yellow tones, some different green tones, some different blue tones. But what we see is that there's more individuals in this population that kind of have that blue color, if we were to generalize that blue as kind of a blue and a teal. Okay, so that's our distribution. It shows that more have blue than anything else. All right, moving on. This last part is building histograms. So you have 4 missions to build your histograms, and for this you guys can just use the draw tool. I will do the histogram, the first histogram for you guys. So for number 1, it tells you guys to make a histogram with no variation. So we kind of have 5 different columns here that you guys could have 5 different variants. But in this case, we don't want any variation in our population. So you guys would choose a column. It really doesn't matter. Your guys's is gonna look different. Okay, so this would be an example of a histogram with no variation. Okay, whatever this trait that we're looking at is, whatever this variation is, all of the individuals in that population have that trait. Okay, if we had variation, we'd have maybe something in this column, something in this column, something in this column, this column, this column, so on and so forth. Okay, so you guys can draw your own histogram there, telling me what you guys think it would look like with no variation, even though I've just done an example for you guys. Your second histogram is to make a histogram with low variation. Remember, with low variation, you guys are going to have, there's 6 options for variations here. Maybe you guys have 2 or 3 of these filled with individuals in that population. Okay, on this one, make a histogram with high variation. You're going to probably use all 6 of those columns. Okay, and then finally, 4, you're going to make a histogram with high variation, but with a different distribution of traits than number 3. So your guys' traits for 3, or your graphs or your histograms for 3 and 4 should be the same goal, but look differently. Okay, and then finally, answer these questions about histograms. So you guys have 4 different histograms here, A, B, C, and D. So answer these questions. Which histogram shows a population that's all one color? Circle your correct answer. Okay, which histogram shows a population with a lot of variation? Circle your answer. Which histogram shows a population with mostly yellow australopes and some variation? Circle your answer. And which histogram shows the same variation as histogram B, but a different distribution? So obviously your answer is probably not histogram B. Okay, finally, complete your wrap up. If you guys have any questions, especially on those sim missions or on those histograms, please let me know. Obviously, if it's preventing you from completing this assignment, let me know right away so I can help you guys out. Again, the Teams meeting should be running so you guys can jump back in and ask me questions anytime. And 4, 3, 2, 1, how do you think you did? You guys are all done. Go ahead and hand it in, and I hope you are having a wonderful day.